Hey everyone, this is the Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, Kim Seltzer, a dating and makeover expert, where I will help you build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in.
Many of you I know have heard about the law of attraction, which is basically the ability to attract into our lives whatever we are focusing on. It's the power of the mind to translate whatever is in our thoughts and materialize them into reality. So, in basic terms, all thoughts turn into things eventually. So here's the thing, if you focus on negative stuff, gloom and doom, guess what? You will remain under that dark cloud. If you focus on positive thoughts and have goals that you aim to achieve, you will find a way to achieve them with massive action. But have you ever heard of the law of action? It's one thing to be aligned with what we want energetically, but it's another to take action so that you are in alignment. But the role of action in the attraction process can be really confusing, and I see this all the time with my clients. I mean, there can be a tendency to take, the teachings of law of attraction quite literally. And when you hear something like, oh, it's our energy that creates, you might take that to mean you literally don't have to do anything. And all this great stuff just happens to you. There's a woman I worked with who said, she came to me, she's like, Kim, I'm cursed. I'm cursed when it comes to men. And, she was really baffled and said, I don't understand. I'm a really good person, but I just don't meet anyone. And the guys I do meet end up being really toxic. So I asked her about what she was doing to meet men. And she said, well, she wasn't really actively looking, but she believed that the right guy would come along at some point in her everyday life. Meanwhile, when I dissected her life, it was comprised of working long hours. She wasn't on any dating apps because she didn't believe in them and wanted to meet people naturally. All her friends were either married or coupled off, so her social life was hanging out with them and going to the gym. And when I asked her if she met anyone at the gym, she said, well, no, she mainly just goes and has her workouts and leaves. Now, the other part of the story is that she grew up in a very conservative and religious household and didn't have much dating experience. So, the other thing that she revealed was that feelings were not expressed at all. And she always got the message that if she was a good person, she would attract goodness in her life. So I kind of had to have a talk with her. And I said, look, this isn't about you being a good person. Being a good person had nothing to do with her not finding the right guy. The truth was that she was operating in what I call a reactive rather than a proactive mode in the way she was going about dating and even just in her life. So she was thinking, dating would just happen to her, which up until that point, guess what? Things were happening, but they were toxic. So they were not the right guys chiming into her life. Rather than having a plan in place to put her into action to attract something different. So we sat down and we mapped out a dating plan, much like a business plan, that consisted of putting together a social calendar and dating apps. Yes, I made her do the dating apps simply as a tool so that she could meet more men and single women to go out with. Of course, I put her in new dating clothes so she could feel sexier and attract different men in her life and learn how to express herself so that she could demand more for herself. And the minute she put herself into action, she started dating up a storm and attracted eventually a healthy relationship. Why? Because she decided she wanted to change. She empowered herself with a plan to be more proactive and then put it all into action by working on a different approach, perspective, and mindset. So, with me today is a brilliant and, in my mind, courageous man who thrives on action to help inspire this conversation of how the law of action actually begets the law of attraction. He discovered the formula to getting what you want on your terms by enduring a near death experience of his 14-year-old daughter. And shortly after facing a near death experience himself. And through a dynamic and engaging presentation, he motivates audiences to realize they can reach their potential faster and easier when goals become larger than their fears. I love that. He is the best-selling author of The Law of Attraction, speaker, voice actor for many national TV commercials. You might recognize his voice for top brands including CarMax, Black Box Wine, Bayer Aspirin, and Walmart. The narrator for Hal Elrod's The Miracle Morning audiobook, along with over 30 audiobooks on Audible, with combined sales over 300,000 copies. And he lives by the law of action: decide, plan, and act. Welcome, Rob Actis.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here, Kim.
Oh my God, so happy. Okay, before we get into all this, are you going to be the voiceover for your own book on Audible, or are you?
I am. And there's like 13 other voices because I interviewed amazing people that decided and planned and acted. And then other times where they decided and planned and they never acted. And so we got kind of deep. And so got them in the book as well. So it's not just me. It's other voices as well.
Oh my God, that's so cool. I love it. Yeah, you already have a good voice. Well, I love how we met. I have to share this story because do you know what? Like, if you think about it, we actually met because you took action.
I do.
So tell the story because it's kind of funny.
I want to hear your story. You want me to tell it?
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll do it together because I mean, this is how I remember it, and it started out when we met through the New Media Summit, right? And I was an icon, you were a participant, but then I had thrown a video out there, and I talked about, I'm looking for guests who can talk about really anything, including underwater basket weaving, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that how it started?
Yeah.
And then what did you do?
Well, because I just assumed that the majority of people that are going to watch that video are not going to watch the whole video. And so there was like a little gotcha hook in the middle of it, like underwater basket weaving. So I sent a message to you and said, that's so fascinating because I am actually the foremost expert of international underwater basket weaving.
I love it. And so immediately I, of all the messages I got, you stood out because of that. And then you took it one step further. So I'm at the summit and, you and I met and we were laughing about that whole connection. So it gave us that connecting point. But then what did you actually get me?
Well, I told you, I said, I just want you to know that, I just got back from Bali and I was in the water and I created one of my most magnificent underwater baskets. And I am so excited because I've had it flown in and it will be here, not going to be here today because it takes a while to cross the world, but it will be here tomorrow. And it was just fun.
Oh my God. And thank God for Amazon, right? So it didn't matter.
It was fun.
Yeah. So he actually did bring me the basket, and that was the whole joke. I mean, throughout the whole thing. But I wanted to start with that because it just shows, when people actually do something. So whether you're networking, you're dating, you and I had instant synergy just with our beliefs and what we're teaching and that kind of thing. But we might have not met or actually done anything like you being on the show, and I'm going to be going on your show, if you hadn't put yourself into action and actually made that connection.
Well, I'm very much an action taker. I kind of wrote the book on action, the law of action. So I have to walk my talk. It's really important. And, what I have discovered is that the more you take action, there's a momentum that's created in your life, and it is just incredible. I wrote the book that I needed to read, and since I wrote the book, my life has transformed because when I don't want to take action, trust me, I take action because, I'm the guy, I wrote the book on action. So it's
Yeah.
important that I walk my talk.
Yeah, and you so do. And you have the most amazing, incredible story. I know you shared a little bit with me, but I would love to hear more. I'd love to hear kind of life before you wrote the book and took action and you went through a lot. How did you kind of get inspired to get to where you are right now?
Well, I've always been an action taker, and I didn't really realize it till actually when I started writing the book. And
Mm.
to the point of, you heard me, I was introduced as Mr. Action himself. I realized through some deep work that I was doing recently, where I was going back in my past and thinking about things that I was actually 4 or 5 years old. And just imagine me at 4 or 5, I had a lot of energy. And I used to hang out with my grandma a lot, and I was a lot of energy for her. And she's like, she nicknamed me Thumper, but she's like, you're like Mr. Action. You're just like running around here. You just need to knock it off and just sit there for a minute. And it was funny how that just came to me. And I looked at my life and just led a life of action. So what happened? The near death was my daughter. It was June 8th, 2013. She was an amazing kid. Like everything was perfect. And unfortunately, and I talk about this to my clients and on stage all the time, at any
Mhm.
moment, your life can change. Like just that quick. And it did. We were having a great day, and fast forward to the point of, our day turned into, at night, my daughter being life flighted to a hospital with a pediatric neurosurgeon looking me in the eye and saying, I'm so sorry. This is really bad. I will do my best. However, your daughter has probably a 4% chance of survival. She's already suffered one stroke. We're going to go in and do the best we can, but you need to prepare for the worst. It's really, really bad. And it is just unbelievable to imagine that. And she survived her surgery. She suffered 3 more strokes during surgery. And because of the damage of the blood clot, they removed a large portion of her left frontal lobe. She
Mm.
ended up in a coma. And her mom and I, we went into massive action, meaning that we didn't know what we were doing in the hospital environment. But because of the action that we took and all the steps and therapies and everything that we did and the driving force of just being in momentum, she's actually recovered. She has a very small deficit. She probably has a 1 to 2% deficit. You'd never know if you looked at her. And she's a survivor of 4 strokes,
Oh,
brain
wow.
surgery, where they cut open her entire skull and they removed part of her brain. And the doctor
Mm.
said, it really was based on the action you took, because one of her girlfriends was in high school and had something extremely minor compared to what she had. And this young girl, her family didn't take action. They sat back and they're like, she'll get better. She didn't do the therapy she was supposed to do, or the exercises of, the mental exercises or the physical exercises. And she has probably a 40% deficit. And it's all about action. So while my daughter was in the hospital and while we were recovering, all as a family, I decided that I needed to be in the best shape of my life, because when you're in the hospital, especially as long as we were in there for the weeks we were, you eat everything in sight because you don't know what else to do. So I ate a lot and I gained probably 30 pounds. I mean, I was just like, and
Oh,
I
wow.
was not feeling good. And I'm like, if I'm going to take care of my family, I need to be in the best shape. Now,
Mm.
if you know me, you know that I'm not athletic. I'm not a gym guy. That's not my thing. Well, I decided I need to take massive immediate action. I enrolled in an MMA gym, and I decided that I was going to learn Muay Thai and get a trainer. So I started doing Muay Thai. Ultimately, I was doing an hour of Muay Thai, then an hour of boxing, and then I was working out with a trainer a couple of days a week, and I got in phenomenal shape. Now, during that time, we had discovered that my daughter Aiden has a blood clotting disorder called Leiden factor 5. I gave it to her. I'm so sorry, Aiden. And
Mm.
she was telling me, Dad, you keep complaining about a Charlie horse in your leg. And I'm like, yeah, it's just a Charlie horse. So I was rubbing it and doing all these things that you're not supposed to do if you have what I'm going to tell you that I had. And ultimately, it was determined, because I ended up in the emergency room, I had a blood clot. And not only just a blood clot, you think like a little microscopic, it actually went from the top of my hip down to my ankle. and the doctor said I need to go home and not die. And so I was in bed for probably 3 months and very isolated. And during that time, my life flashed before me of where I had taken action in my life and where I hadn't taken action and what I'd succeeded and where I'd failed and what was important in life and what wasn't important in life. And what I determined was business is great. I had residual income, which was wonderful. So I actually survived 3 months of not working.
Mm.
And I learned that the most important thing in life, and it's perfect for you and your audience, is relationships with people, whether they're romantic relationships or just a really tight tribe of people. And so based out of that, I decided that being a national voice actor and having the success that I had was not doing it for me. Now, Hal Elrod is sold millions of copies of The Miracle Morning. And I decided that I was going to write a book and I was going to share my message because I could motivate and inspire people to take action and, live their best life, live a life of inspired action. So that's where the book was originated from. And then I got on stages and now I'm working with clients. And it's really amazing when people really get that the law of attraction is great.
Wow.
And there's the missing ingredient of the law of action.
I so love this because people who work with me know this about me. And like when I was a therapist, I obviously used my therapy background to help people. One of the things that frustrated me is that it was a lot of talk and not enough action, which is why I got into the whole coaching and the makeover process, because when you put yourself into action, that's when you feel the change viscerally in your body. You see it, there's evidence, and so I so love this in your story. It's just amazing. I wondered, how did you raise yourself to the highest potential and not quit during all of that? You went through some major things.
Well, the one thing that I realized is that I am a lot stronger than I thought I was. And then also, when you're playing back your life, I didn't realize it, but there's really a reason that I'm on this planet because I've had so many near-death experiences. I've been in car accidents. I've almost fell off a building. In my book, I talk about that, how I fell over the side of a couple-story building and was dangling, and I got carried away by some wind. I was holding onto something. I've had been in an armed robbery where I had a gun put to my forehead. So I kind of thought, you know what? The universe is kind of like saying, you need to be here. And, when in regards to my daughter, there's just no way I was going to give up. There was just no way.
Yeah.
No way. And I really like being alive. I really like being alive. And the sad part is that a lot of people don't like being alive. They don't even know they're alive. Like they need to live in the moment and know that you're alive. Like learn from people that have had near-death experiences or been around people that they've lost their lives in front of them. Live every day like you want to be alive. That's the one thing in regards to relationships. I was hearing your intro and I'm like, if you knew that tomorrow was your last day, would you wait to go meet that magnificent man or woman across a room?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a good mantra, actually, live like it's your last day, because I think so many people, they hesitate, right? They'll hesitate with approach. They'll hesitate taking action. That it's that fear factor that, like how you said, how your goals become larger than fears. That's what really stops people. But also what I love that you said is, realize your strengths, your superpowers, pull in and say, well, how have I gotten here? People are resilient and sometimes people don't even recognize that. It was funny. I was on a call yesterday with somebody and we're doing phone coaching together. And she is in a total slump with her dating life. And she's like, I feel like I reverted backwards. I was on this momentum. I was taking action. And she now is just falling into the hamster wheel and she's not taking action. She's just doing the same thing. And she's immersing herself into her work where her confidence lives. And I told her, I said, well, of course you're not putting yourself into action with dating because that's not where your confidence lives. But the only way you're going to get confidence is to take action towards that. So I actually related it to how she got into exercise because she said that's the one thing that she doesn't have to feel like it's laborious for her. I said, well, once upon a time, there probably was a time when you didn't think that. She's like, you're right. There was a time that I hated exercise. I said, well, how'd you get over that? She goes, oh, I exercised. So I'm like, do you hear a theme here? And so it just kind of clicked. Like, sometimes you don't even realize. I said, you're so strong. You actually overcame something that was so hard for you. And now you're like, you have a rock body and you're in shape. So yeah, I think we all have to recognize our strengths. That's so cool. Are there other tips you would give people around how to take action? You know what I mean?
And I wrote this down when you were doing your opening. So, they're saying, so dating apps are great, but this is the greatest tip. What if I could tell you a way that you can go on a ton of dates and they're not really dates and you get to just practice? And one of those could turn into a date and could be romantic. So I highly recommend go to meetups. Find something that you really, really love. There's a meetup for it, I can almost guarantee you, or start one. And then you meet a man or woman. And the best part is, you can have those little conversations and act like you're on a date, and it could possibly turn into something. And that way, there's no pressure if you have to get up and make it an official date, but you get to interact with all these people. Plus, you're going to learn what you like in people and don't like in people.
Yes. And along those lines, what you're saying, I just want to back you up, is that it'll help you stay present, because I think so many times we get ahead of things and that's what stops us, because we worry about, oh my God, could he be my boyfriend or could she be my girlfriend? That kind of thing. And so meetups are great because it's casual. It's around something maybe you're interested in, and just, it's about connecting and being curious. I always say it's the 2 C words. So, okay, that's awesome. What else?
Well, the one thing I would just jump in, and I would also say in regards to the meetups, is I wouldn't necessarily go to the single meetups, because people there have not done the work. And you know what I mean by that? They've not done the work and they're quite desperate, and it's just not a good thing. I would recommend going to the ones that you love, like rock climbing or mountain biking or bowling or cooking or whatever. And I would even go to the ones that are just social, where they have couples and singles, because you may show up as like the total rock star that you are after working with Kim. And if I'm a couple, I may go, hey, Sheila, you're amazing. My friend Rick would totally, incredibly love to meet you. So just show up in your best. And that's all action. And it's so important. Don't just sit home. Life is too short.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, okay, so, going to things around your interests, keeping present, recognizing your strengths, those are all really good. But what would you say to somebody that, they know that they need to take action, like intellectually? They're like, yeah, I know I should. You hear that all the time, should. But how can people get over that, where they say, yes, I am?
Well, the law of action is based on decide, plan, and act. And majority of people, they will decide, they plan, and then they plan some more, and they plan some more, and they never take action. And it's really based upon fear. And the fear could be fear of unworthiness, which is really popular, not popular, but something that's very, what would be the word? Not popular, but something that would be very common in the dating environment. Feeling afraid of success. They really don't feel they deserve the happily ever after, or the fear of looking bad in front of others or even their family. What if they meet someone and then their friends or family don't like that person? And so I go back to live every day like you want to be alive. And the other thing is, when you're out there meeting people, you're the one that will be in relationship with them. So really trust you. You are worthy of an amazing partner in your life. You are worthy of amazing fun in your life, and just own that. And the other thing I would say, and it really helps, is gratitude. I just want listeners over the next 30 days to give gratitude before they go to sleep, and just say, I'm so happy I'm alive. I'm so happy I know Kim. I'm so happy that I'm healthy. I'm so happy and just gracious that all the things, and see if they can just run out. You'll most likely fall asleep. And then when you wake up, my first thing is every day is, I am so grateful to be alive. Like, that's the first thing. I'm so grateful to be alive to start another day. And I'm grateful for my daughter. And I'm grateful for all the wonderful people in my life. But if you do that, there's a chemical change in your body and a universal change, and your energy is going to change. You will light up and you will be a different person because of that gratitude, and you will show up differently. And when you start making decisions, even in small ways, the universe takes note of how you live your life. If you're like a woe is me, you're going to attract woe is me. If
Yeah.
you are a rock star, you will attract rock stars. Like, it's just the way it works in business. I talk to my clients, and we get them a momentum of deciding and planning and acting. They're like, oh my God, all of a sudden I met this person, and they knew this person, and they want to do this business with me, and this client. And it just is this momentum of just, they say, look, Kim, the universe, I'm the universe right now. Kim, you've been playing here. Now you're playing here. So congratulations. More people, more opportunities, more happiness. So it's just a choice.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think just to tie in what you said too about the worthiness and the gratitude. I love that you said that, because I have my clients do that too. The gifts of gratitude every single day, be thankful. But another thing on top of that that'll put you into action around the worthiness is that in addition to the gratitude, I have people do what I call a brag. So it's like bragging about something that you're really good at, something that you're really proud of, something that happened to you that day that you just want to shout out to the world. Well, shout it out to yourself and recognize that, because that is what's going to tie in the action with attraction. Because if you realize you're hot, you realize that you are a good person and all the things that you offer in a relationship, and you own that, guess what? You're going to attract. You're going to,
Absolutely.
right. You're going to attract the like. And so, all of these things that, I mean, I think Rob, you're saying are good and simple. Because wouldn't you say, and this is the other thing I wanted to ask you, because I always tell people to start small, because that adds up to the bigger picture. But do you have a philosophy around that? Like, how you kind of put yourself in that momentum where it keeps going?
Yeah. So I agree to start small. So if you have a giant fear of overcoming something to get to a point, you've decided you plan and you can't get to that point, go back in your life and look at things, little small fears. Just take baby steps.
Hmm.
But it's all about building a foundation of momentum. You have to have a foundation before you can build a building. So if you think you're just going to start running, you probably aren't. You need to have that foundation. And as you build that foundation, you become an even more attractive person. And the more confidence you have, and understand one thing, I can guarantee you, all of your listeners, if you would, well, if we would ask you where you think you are, and I'm not talking about appearance in any way, shape, or form, who you are on a scale of 1 to 10, people may say, well, I'm a 5 or a 4 or a
Hmm.
6. And you may not realize, but I can almost assure you that everybody around you thinks you're much higher and thinks you're
Yeah.
incredibly more extraordinary. So what I invite people to do is that our perception is your reality. If you think poorly of yourself, but you have these incredible people surrounding you and tell you how wonderful you are, that's the reality. You just haven't caught up to that yet. So believe them, because really their perception is our reality. If they think you're amazing and a rock star, you are. You may not feel that, but if the universe and people around you are thinking that, you really are. So own that.
Yeah, yes. And that reminds me of something else too. I think you and I even talked about this is, you know, look at who you're surrounded by as well. I mean, you could have people who lift you up, and there's also people who bring you down, and that also can impact the way that you see yourself. So if you are surrounded by people who are highly critical, who take advantage of you and that kind of thing, and you are staying in that, you have to look at empowering yourself to take action, to get out of that circle and surrounding yourself with people who lift you up, because that vibration also will help you attract, the person that you're hoping to get and hoping to achieve. But you got to become it, you got to experience it so you can attract it. And like what I did with that woman that I talked about in the beginning, that's what we did, because I had her start to go to totally different places that she was going to, even just in her surroundings.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, And here's the other thing is you don't owe anybody anything. So if you're hanging around a group of girls that you've been friends with since elementary school or high school, and they're just not the people that you would really love to hang around, and they're not up to the same stuff that you're up to, it's okay to let them go. Like it's really
Yeah.
okay to let them go because they talk about one door closes, another door opens. If you're full of your friends and you have your circle of friends, but they're not supporting you in having an extraordinary life and they're not giving you the love and support that you know you deserve, it's time to let them go and open up the door for more incredible people to come in.
I love that. That's awesome. How how would people know then they're on the right path, would you say?
You see results. I mean, it's
Mhm.
so funny because I have talked to a few women and they have been, just out of a divorce or something. And I'm like, look, it's time. Just go out and meet people. And when you have, so the other thing is I don't operate a life of expectations. Operate a life of let it flow, let it flow, let it flow, and just very organic stuff with massive inspired action.
Yes.
I don't just let things flow, but I'm in the right place at the right time. I never would have met you had I not taken action and participated in the New Media Summit. I never would have met you and had the connection that we have had I not watched your video and interacted with you on that video and became the international expert in underwater basket weaving.
I know. And had I not met you, I wouldn't have been carrying around that basket and people asking me what that basket was. And guess what? That connected me to other people. So there's a trickle effect with that, and it's like a ripple in the water, and it really. And I just want to highlight what you said because this is so important. It's not just going with the flow and the energy and things will happen. You have to have action to back that up to move you towards where you're supposed to go and want to go. So I love that.
It's like
Right.
sitting in a boat and like with no paddle and like, well, I'm
Yeah.
just going to float somewhere. If you want to
Yeah.
go to Hawaii, you need to point towards Hawaii. You need to start paddling. That's important. So yeah, have the flow, but have the action.
This is so awesome. Rob, this was fantastic. Like really juicy and just like something that people I think really can understand too. Cause when you talk about these big theory words like law of attraction and taking actions, it can be daunting. Do you have any like last parting words of wisdom and let everybody know how they can find you?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. Second of all, really understand that life is short and it's precious. Even if you live to 80, that's short to be on this earth.
Mhm.
Take massive, inspired action. Don't let fear stop you. Because here's the thing you're an incredible person and you're withholding yourself from someone who's like, oh my God, I so wanted to meet you. Like, put yourself out there. And the thing is you think, oh, it's me. People are looking and you will find the right person with action. If you're at home watching Hulu or Netflix, you're not going to meet the right person. Go out
Yeah.
there in real life and meet people. And one way to do it is just say hi. Most people don't even say hi.
No. I know. It always amazes me how surprised guys are when I just say hi. They're, "Well, wait, are you talking to me?" I tell that all the time. I know we don't even say hi to each other anymore. So you be that person that says hi. I love it.
And ladies, I know a lot of you think that it's improper, even in 2019, that it's improper to walk up to a guy that you like and say hi. It's not. Guys are terrified. A lot of guys are terrified to come up and say hi to you. So you say, don't meet anybody. Well, the reason is because the men are too shy. So go up and say hi. You will be amazed. My daughter, Aiden, met her husband at a water event in South Carolina. She saw him. She's like, wow. When remember, this is my daughter. So she hangs around me. She walked up and said, hi, I'm Aiden. They're married.
Aw. Oh, full circle. That's so great. That's awesome. Rob, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at robactis.com. You can also check out thelawofaction.com. You can check out the book there. I've got the Law of Action Pack. I don't know if it's a Law of Action Pack or the Law of Action, but it's one of those.
I like the Action Pack thing. That's cool.
Yeah, so it's an action pack, but it's the Law of Action Pack, or is it the Law of Action Pack? One or the other, but it's there. You can get a couple chapters of the book. I'm putting in the soon be released audiobook in there, and I've got a couple other extra surprises in there for you too.
Oh, that's awesome. And I'll post that as well. So again, thanks for joining me today. This has been the Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, of course, Kim Seltzer. And remember, you can build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. Of course, if you want to know more, go to my site, seltzerstyle.com. I have the challenge for you. In fact, I'm so excited to announce I'm doing another round of the 14-day Flirt and Femininity Challenge. And we are going to be starting December 11th. And just to recap, it's a private group of women where I give you a challenge online each day as a group to motivate you to flirt and embrace your femininity. Because let's face it, if you have any fears or hesitation around flirting, you definitely need some accountability and direction to do it. It's super fun. It's right on time to practice during all those holiday parties I'm going to make you go to. And they have been super successful. And women have not only been getting their mojo, but some boyfriends out of it. So again, join us by clicking on the link you see in the show description, and stay tuned until next week with more tips on how to feel and look fabulous every day.